touch base on this particular issue. Joining us is Irene Otieno, who's the coordinator at the National Taxpayers Association. Many thanks for your time. I'd like to begin right there. The temporary tax relief measures will be null and void on the 1st of January. What exactly does this mean for Kenyans, considering the economic shockwaves of COVID-19 are still being felt?
Thank you for having me today. Indeed, as you have rightfully put, there is great impact to Kenyans. And so when we woke up and to this press release from Treasury, that we will revert back to the previous tax rates. So that's essentially when you look at a country that is really not recovered from the effects. And it seems it's one government speaking different languages, because on the other hand, you have Ministry of Health telling us that we are in a sense in a second wave. So when Treasury looks at the economic impact and says that in a sense we are almost rebounding and there's recovery, hence going back to the previous rates. On the other hand, Ministry of Health is saying that we need to maintain some of those containment measures. Then you see there's a problem there. So for us as an institution, we are greatly concerned that this would take Kenyans deeper into poverty. This would mean loss of livelihoods, and businesses that were attempting to stay afloat will definitely not be able to rebound post-COVID-19. So we would want to caution the government that in the short run, they would imagine that they would be bringing in more revenues, but the long-term effect of that is that the businesses that would have survived this pandemic would essentially not be able to survive it. So there is need for greater conversation from the executive hand of government to see that the fiscal urgency they seem to have on their end to bring in more revenues does not, in a sense, kill the businesses. We must strive to keep these ones afloat.
As you've said, we must strive to keep this afloat. You are from the association. You're aware that 1.7 million people lost their jobs due to COVID-19. Reverting to 16% VAT means basic commodity prices go up. So then how do we create a balance between the government and the common mwananchi?
The balance would have been much easier to get, save for the fact that as a country we have had a history of wastage and a history of not prioritizing the things that speak to the local mwananchi. So looking at the presser from Treasury, you would find that there was a bit of an attempt where then Treasury has mentioned that the people on less than 24,000 Kenyan shillings would still be on 100% tax relief. So they would, that at face value seems like it would want to protect the most vulnerable groups of Kenyans. However, when you again from the same document detail that you want to revert VAT that covers essential goods and services that mwananchi use from again 14 to 16, so you're giving with one hand and taking away from the other. So those are a bit of the concerns that we have. There has also been a bit of an attempt when government says that they will increase the safety nets. We have seen some cash transfers. But remember that even the group that was vulnerable has now become a larger pool, because those who are essentially not eligible even for the cash transfers then have been pushed to poverty. We recall, I think, last week when the World Bank shared its economic update, and they laid it bare that 50% of the businesses are not working. They've had to shut down. We are looking at 2% increase in the poverty levels at country level. So when you then want to revert back the rates, particularly for VAT, and the impact of VAT is disproportionate, particularly to this vulnerable group. So there's a bit of a concern there. And we are speaking to government and saying that this is not the time, really is not right. This is a time that we must stand with the citizens, and we have different approaches and solutions to address this. If you allow me first, as government says that they have lost significant revenue running into the billions, the same speed with which we see them addressing, it's been less than 6 months or so since Kenyans started enjoying this relief, but they want to take it back. However, when you look at matters corruption, that take significantly more resources, there isn't that swift action from the executive and other investigative agencies. So we see sealing a specific loophole in terms of corruption would still enable the country to provide the relief it was providing to its citizens while still getting the resources that we essentially need to develop the country. Secondly, also, we feel that this discussion about reverting back to the previous tax rates comes right behind the discussions that we have seen in the media, pushing out that our country is trying to renegotiate and have conversations with the World Bank and IMF for more loans. So if you look at it that way, then we would say that the debts that we have continued to accumulate as a country and these debts that we must pay are then what is also pushing Treasury and government to want to demonstrate to both its concessional lenders and also the commercial lenders that they can be able to repay these loans when they fall due. So it's a mix of, I would say, where the country finds itself is a mix of our bad manners that are playing catch up with us, but we as the people that are funding the country must push back.
Okay, many thanks. And just as you've mentioned, it's all in the implementation even.